Welcome to the latest All in Skills podcast. All in Skills, for those who are not yet familiar with it, is a soon-to-be launched platform which is designed to put young people, undergraduates, recent graduates, and people who are new on the job market, to put them in touch with experts like today's guest, Christina Demant. Thank you for joining me, Chris. Nice to see you.
Nice being here. Thank you.
Christina, today you're going to talk to us about your career and your background in psychology.
Yes, I graduated in 1996, but to tell you the truth, it was not an easy path. I struggled a lot in order to choose my career. What am I going to study? What will be my graduation? So at this very beginning, I remember that I had a friend. Since high school, she said, I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to be a dentist. And I was so envious of her because how could somebody at such young age know what exactly she would be for the rest of her life? And I was struggling. My God, I don't know what exactly I will study, what I would be. So I remember I bought the student guidebook. It would be some tips about career, some paragraphs about each career, what it's exactly about. And I remember I didn't find myself in. I didn't fit to any. I didn't like anything. So it was so strange. And I started to talk to my dad, to my uncle, and my brother. My God, do you know? Have an idea about what we are going to study, what we are going to major in? So my uncle, that is an academic, he's a chemist. He and my aunt. He said, "Oh, come to the university. We can interview some other professionals." And this was a great idea because I started to talk to people that were already professionals at the area. I talked to biologists, I talked to chemists, and because at the very end, I think I would like to be a doctor. But since I talked to those ones and I knew how hard it would be to be a doctor, and because I like very much the human being, the mind, the body, how things work, that's why at that moment I started to think about to know how the body works and a biology or a doctor or something like that. But when I discovered and I find out that a biologist would be like 80 or 90% of the time at the lab, not in the field, I said, no, this is not for me because I'm not that good at machines, at technology, and at the time to be working with a microscope and those kind of things wouldn't be for me. I said psychology. I talked to some psychologists and then I started to think, well, as I think I like to know how things behave, not machines because I don't like the mechanism, the technology, but the body, how the mind works, how can we explain behaviors and how do we do things. And then I opted by psychologist. So this is my decision for psychology, but it was a kind of hard because I don't have anybody in my family, anybody closer to me that was a psychologist. All of my family went to the other area, chemist, mathematics, doctor, and it was kind of hard to announce this decision in my family, Everybody looked like
How far into your course did you get the feeling that you'd made the right decision for you?
Yes, it was tough. It was only after the third or the fourth year it was hard after the fourth year. Even though because I interrupted my studies, I went to Germany, I lived abroad, and I felt a little bit disconnected because I had different people in my class, I didn't connect it very well, and this is another thing I would like to comment with you. I didn't feel connected to colleagues. I felt the career was not exactly what I wanted. I didn't have anybody to follow, anybody to orientate me, anybody to guide me, any colleague very well that I could study together, that I could make friends with. To tell you the truth, I have only one friend that remained from college. Everybody has so many friends from college. I have only one.
Was that to do more with the environment, or do you think there was an element of the course itself, the study of psychology? Or was there never any doubt in your mind that you'd made a right decision with psychology, but your issues were other things?
No, I do believe it has to do with the idea that it was not the right decision, so I didn't focus so much on the studies. I didn't focus so much in making friends. because I didn't know if I would continue, if I would go until the end. And I didn't feel I belonged to the university, because I wasn't so happy about doing that. And when I was starting to feel comfortable about when after the third year, I said, oh no, that's it. I think I am on the right way. And then I moved. I stopped for 6 months. And when I came back, everybody was different, other teachers, and so I had to reconnect again. So it was kind of tough, this movement, my studies.
Your decision to go to Germany during your degree, was that related to studies, or was it a decision maybe to do with again?
No,
with
it has to do with
language?
improve language and to become fluent in the language that I had studied in Brazil, but I believe that I needed to be at the right place, to become more fluent. So, and exactly because I wasn't so dedicated to my studies, I said, no, I have something more important to do, and this is the opportunity right now, and the studies could be on the second plan.
So after Germany, back you came to Brazil for your last couple of years. Did a lot of people who did psychology continue with psychology, or did they go off into different areas?
I do believe that many people, especially nowadays, I cannot tell if it's the same percentage because I think things has changed a lot. I graduated in 1996. Nowadays, the importance of psychology is much bigger than when I graduated. It was, at the time, I was kind of, maybe because I didn't connect so much to psychology when I graduated, I was kind of ashamed to say I'm a psychologist. Nowadays, I am proud of saying, because people do see the importance of this in our lives and to take care of the mind, of our thoughts, beliefs, emotion. But that time, it was something, wow. What are you doing? Did you spend so much time of your life with these kind of worries? Even though my father said psychology, what an option. So I felt the prejudice, the bias inside my family as well. If I'm not wrong, like 50%, they quit, they do something different. Even myself had another activity. I studied psychology, but I was earning money with something else, like private classes, Portuguese classes for foreigners, and some English classes for beginners. I was happy with something else. Only after 5-6 years, I could feel myself comfortable.
So what were your first steps into psychology as a profession?
Yeah. So I connected to what I like in psychology because there are so many options, areas. I connected to working at hospitals, but as I told before, it was not recognized. I faced a lot of prejudice problems. The doctors didn't see an importance of a psychologist inside the hospital. It was called their field. They, how can I say, they are the bosses there. Even though we see the problems and the need of a psychologist there, we were not heard. So it was really tough. Even though I like it, I had problems there as well. So if you see, the beginning of the career was not easy as well, just like my studies. But what I was proud of myself is that I insisted. I didn't quit. I liked it there. I liked the area of the health area. So I studied many things apart, like related to somatic diseases, eating disorders, many things that I think it was attracted to me, that made sense to myself. And I majored in some other courses apart from the university, and I continued. I felt that I was alone in this path, but I liked it. Even though I wasn't recognized, I liked doing this. I felt myself great studying that area. But then, because it was an optional subject and they thought, this is not so important, I won't need to make so much effort, and maybe it's an easy one, I could pass easily, not because they like it so much. I think they were few that like it, just like me.
But when you were actually in the career, when you were working in the hospitals, were there other psychologists with you, or was it sort of a lonely period for you, like being the only person doing this kind of work?
I felt so lonely because I think only few, and if I could If I needed some help, some guidance, orientation, there were the teachers at the university, but not inside the hospital. I couldn't reach anybody to help me there. And another prejudice because I wasn't recognized there. It was kind of hard. Even though there was a protocol there, it was at the time that it was spreading the disease of the HIV. So the Pfizer, that pharmaceutical industry, was running a study with Brazilian people, Brazilian sick people, and they needed in their protocol to have a psychologist. So I was the one hired to participate in this protocol. So I was very happy about because a great pharmaceutical industry had noticed how important is a psychologist in the team to analyze the data and to follow the sick people, the affected ones. And then I stayed with them running this, participating in this research for 2 years. And then I felt so great because I think I was recognized. People at the hospital saw it needed to come somebody from the outside, that needed the patients, needed the human samples. And then they said, oh, a psychologist is important.
Did that coincide with a general acceptance in the wider medical community that there was an important role for psychologists, or was this sort of a very localized breakthrough, like in your specific case?
I believe it was localized. It was localized. Nowadays, I can see that it was localized, but it felt so good to me that at least going there to the hospital, I could feel I have an important role here. So don't mess up with my job, with my things, my opinion. I am also important at this multi-professional team, and they want my opinion, and I am important as you are. Everybody here is important.
In terms of finding support from other people in your position, were there other professionals working in other hospitals that you could actually sort of talk to or discuss? Did that loneliness pass, or did that loneliness stay with you for some time?
I try to find support with people with psychologists that work in other hospitals, not at this one that I was working, but at the others. And then they gave me tips. They tried to help me as they could, because they had already, they had already had the same problems as I was having at the time. So I could count on them because they had the same problem as me. At that time, it was hard for a psychologist working in this health area, working at hospitals or even, I don't know how to call in English,
sort of clinics.
Yes, clinics.
Okay, that's interesting. So how did your career then develop from that time of the initial challenge of getting into the hospital system, the relationship with Pfizer, recognition for the importance and the quality of your work? Where did that take you next?
Yes, so I thought to myself, so this is something that I do like, that's something I need to invest on, to continue investing on. So I searched many courses in the air that related psychology to medicine and to the environment of health. And I think I've never stopped studying. Something that I could tell you that was important to myself, and if somebody would follow my advice, never stop studying. Recognize what really makes sense to you, study, connect to people that could guide you, as I connected to other psychologists that were working at other hospitals that had the same problems as I did. Adopt a guide, somebody that could lead you to other people or to other center of, studies or knowledges, and that could approach you to the to where you would like to reach. Don't be alone. Don't be by yourself, because it's very hard. So what I did, you asked how this developed. I studied a lot, and I started to connect to people, to have my own clinic, my own private clinic, because I said, at the hospital it's gonna be very hard, my own space here. So I would like to have these people in my own clinic, so I don't need to I don't need to compete. I don't need to have prove myself. I will have my own clinic, and the patients would come here without any.
Is there an area then of psychology that you tend to concentrate more on? What kind of client or patient that you end up working with more than others?
Yes, I started with eating disorders, and and the diseases that are related to this, for example, anxiety or depression or something that they are together. Usually they come together to these eating disorders. And after, more things related to at the time of the pandemic, I noticed so much the rate of eating disorders increased a lot. The usage of alcohol and depression and anxiety, it raises a lot. It rocketed. So I had to study more about this, and nowadays I have patients from most all of the problems. Adults. Nowadays I focus in adults. But I think what was great to me at this process of all, I faced challenges and faced difficulties at the area I liked. This is the health area. I didn't give up. I studied, I searched for people that could help me or could teach me how was the path I should go on, and adopted some guides, some teachers, some tutors and colleagues, and studied a lot and opened my own clinic. At the beginning was sharing a room with other professionals, and nowadays I have my own clinic. At the time of the pandemic it closed, of course, nobody could go out, and I think it was good for me, because nowadays I only have an online patient, but nowadays many people are working only online and from my own house, and this is good to me. I feels like I am at my office because I live on my own, so this is great. And I never stop studying. This is something I could tell people, younger people, that never stop studying, never stop updating yourself. And something that also is related to this tip that I could tell some younger people. It's funny because when I was at university, I don't know if it was because I was not so connected, but I had some prejudice, some bias. This area never to me, or this area no. These are for example, the crazy ones that go through this area. These are the other ones. This group I don't want, because in psychology you have many thinkers, many I don't know,
Schools of thought, maybe?
Yes, many philosophers and many trends go to this way, that way. The ones that believe in the mind, like Freud. Some ones don't believe in the mind. They focus on the behavior, don't think that there is a subconscious. So this is the idea. Many philosophers, many areas, and I was so skeptical to some. No, this is not for me. This I don't believe. I will just study that area. But at the time, we are so young. But on the other hand, we are so sure of ourselves that I focused in some area. For example, psychoanalysis. I focus on Freud. Behaviorism, the Skinner, the study of behavior was not for me. Oh, these people, how can they not believe in subconscious and this kind of thing? But it's so funny that nowadays what I do believe is the analysis of the behavior. And I made a course 1 year long to study the analysis of behavior, cognitive behavior therapy. And it's so funny because at that time we are so sure this is bullshit. I will never study this. And 20 years later, I needed to pay a course 1 year long to study that kind of thing because it makes sense. As a tip, don't be like like I was, have an open mind to learn after when you are working, and then you will see if it makes sense or not. But don't be so naive like I was, or so skeptical, or so full of yourself. This is right, this is wrong. Who are you when you are entering college to say this is right, this is wrong? There were people that were way more experienced than you are. If they are teaching, there must be a sense on it.
The idea then of a young person today embarking on a psychology degree, or maybe coming to the end of a psychology degree, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them? What do you think they ought to know, and what would equip them best for the career that awaits them?
Yes, I would say, unfortunately, something I didn't do when I was studying is to be connected. You cannot just go to college or be yourself and forget about college. Go there, have class, and forget about it. Be connected. Try to connect what's going on about congresses, about teachers, about speakers of the area. Be in this mood, never disconnect yourself to your area. Try to participate. If there is a course on the area that you might like, try to be curious, go there. And if there is, for example, studies in the area, try to meet a colleague, to join. Never forget about knowledge, because the more information you have, the better, the more prepared you'll be in the future. Even to choose the area you would like, you need to know more to opt in the future. But never be alone, never be disconnected. This would be a mistake, I would say to you. If you also have, I don't know if the person is open-minded or closed-minded, or if it's extrovert or introvert, but I do believe it's always good to have a teacher or a tutor, somebody that could give you some ideas for your career.
Is there a strong tradition of mentorship within let's say, the psychologist community?
Yes, there is, even though, because we have to, on our last year, you have to write a thesis that in order to get a graduation. And this is the appropriate moment to get closer to a tutor, a mentorship. Usually we choose. At my time, we could choose among the tutors, among the mentors. And this is the time where you get very close to the one that you chose, in order to give also guidance to your future career. Not only to write the thesis, but also to have some opportunities for the future.
Connections.
This is, unfortunately, I'm giving this advice because unfortunately I didn't take the opportunity for that. I was taking this as a burden, I have to write my thesis, go there and present a paragraph. This is how I looked at the situation. But if you could look nowadays as somebody that is graduating, wow, what an opportunity. I have somebody that is more experienced than I am, that had already passed through this, that I am passing now, and is graduated, is successful, is also a teacher at the university, probably has a clinic or work in HR or whatever, and I will take this opportunity to benefit myself. So I think this is good. And another thing that I was thinking here, another advice. For example, myself, I recognize myself during university. I liked a lot the health area. Maybe I could work at clinic or at hospital, but at a certain time I deviated this thought. I said, no, but this won't give you so much money right away. I think I'm going to human resources because they pay more. But it was awful, this thought. Everybody says that don't go only for money, but think about what you like, what you are talented, or what you have skills for. And I remember that I applied for some opportunities in HR, and usually the companies were not in São Paulo, the city where I live, but nearby, in São Bernardo do Campo or São Caetano, where at that time the most important companies were the multinationals. And I thought, I can speak a bit German, English, Portuguese. I think it would be a good opportunity. I think I have a good chance. Mm-hmm. And I studied at a good university. But you don't know what happened. We didn't have ways at that time. The 3 opportunities that I applied for, I couldn't find a way. But I think I was nervous, or it was far away, or it wasn't meant to be, Mm-hmm. I can't believe, because I couldn't find, one of them I was late. The other 2 ones I didn't find. And I'm not so stupid with maps. And I think what I could conclude from this story, that If you are not talented, if you're not so sure about just go for the money, it doesn't make sense. So think twice. And nowadays I think to myself, HR is not for me because I think I just went for money. I don't know if it makes sense this.
Let me just ask you one last question before we finish up. You said that when you embarked on psychology academically and as a career, that there was a certain amount of skepticism within your family. Have you managed to win them over time, or do they remain skeptical until today?
To tell you the truth, just lately. To tell you the truth, just lately, because I think it came together with the environment, with the social situation that's not only them, but I think nowadays people in general could notice that how important it is. But to tell you the truth, even so, my brothers, they are proud the job of the sister, but even today, my father, I think because of the age, he hasn't changed his mind. He hasn't changed.
Interesting.
And the more the older you get, the more difficult it gets to change mind, probably. And this is his type.
I imagine so. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It's been a very interesting
Thank
conversation.
you so much. Yes, I hope I could contribute to some of the ideas to the younger ones that is starting the career at this age.
Certainly, it's a popular pathway nowadays.
Yes, yes. So thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you. See you.